Welcome everyone to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some seriously fascinating and honestly pretty crucial data from the Byer-Nichols threat brief, covering the first half of May 2026. Now, if you've been following the industry lately, you know exactly how overwhelming threat intelligence data can be. It's like a giant puzzle. So my goal today is to enthusiastically translate all those dense numbers and trends into a clear, actionable briefing. We're going to map out exactly what the threat landscape looks like right now, so you know exactly what we're all up against. Here's our roadmap for the briefing today. First, the current target landscape. Second, top ransomware actors. Third, stealth tactics and vulnerabilities. Fourth, trending malware threats. And finally, number 5, top cyber news.
Section 1. The current target landscape. Establishing the victims.
Okay, let's dive into this scene. Look at this sheer disproportion here. It's kind of wild, but nearly 80% of ransomware victims in the first half of May were small businesses. We're talking organizations with 500 employees or less. Mid-market came in at roughly 15% and large enterprises, just over 6%. It's a massive reality check. I really want you to consider your own organization's risk profile right now, because the data shows attackers aren't just hunting for massive whales anymore. They're constantly executing high-volume attacks on smaller targets. Bottom line, size absolutely does not grant you immunity.
So, building out a more specific victim profile, construction and retail have aggressively pushed to the very top of the target list. They've actually unseated manufacturing, which used to hold that #1 spot. Financial services is still a highly targeted third, but when we look at the geographic data, wow, the United States remains the primary victim location by a massive, overwhelming margin. Over 45% of all victims are in the US. Canada and the UK are trailing far, far behind at around 4% and 3%. So if you're operating in the US in retail or construction, there is literally a giant bullseye on your sector right now.
Section 2. Top ransomware actors, the villains of the landscape.
All right, let's look at the attackers. Scanning the top ransomware actors by percentage, QLin has surged right back into the absolute #1 spot. They're commanding nearly 18% of the landscape right now, mostly through relentless, high-volume, double extortion hits. The gentlemen are following closely behind at almost 14% with opportunistic breaches. You'll also see some familiar names holding steady, like NC Ransom and Akira. But you know what? I really want to draw your attention to the new name sitting at the bottom of that top 5 list, Bavacai.
So, what's the deal with Bavacai? They're a completely new ransomware-as-a-service operation that basically came out of nowhere to rapidly hit the top 5, and their methodology is fascinating. While established cartels usually try to be methodical, Bavacai is all about the loud, smash-and-grab tactics. They racked up roughly 20 victims in a single day by using unusually noisy data theft-first intrusions, and then they went completely quiet. It's a perfect example of the erratic, highly aggressive experimentation we're seeing from newcomers in this space. Section 3. Stealth tactics and vulnerabilities. The quiet threat.
While groups like Bavacai are out there making a ton of noise, the real danger is often what you can't hear, right? This perfectly illustrates the duality of the modern threat landscape. On one hand, we've got those noisy operations, rapid execution, loud network intrusions. But trending heavily right now, on the other side, are stealthy, data-centric operations by adversaries like Ocean Lotus and Scarcraft. These groups are shifting hard toward credential theft, mobile-focused espionage, and highly polished developer ecosystem compromises. Their whole goal is to just blend in with normal traffic. They don't want to encrypt your data and yell about it. They want to sit quietly on your network, watching and stealing for months.
The absolutely crucial point here is understanding how these stealthy actors are getting in. During this period, attackers heavily targeted enterprise infrastructure and edge technologies. I urge you to think about your own supply chains, your firewalls, VPNs, and your edge infrastructure. These perimeter technologies are supposed to be the things protecting you, but right now they're the prime entry points for these stealthy groups to quietly set up shop.
And to exploit that edge infrastructure, attackers are utilizing a very specific arsenal. Take a look at these critical CVEs impacting major enterprise staples: Palo Alto Networks PAN-OS, Cisco's Catalyst SD-WAN, and Progress Software's MOVEit automation. But the big standout here is the simultaneous appearance of multiple Linux dirty frag vulnerabilities in the kernel. Threat actors are pouncing on these specific flaws to achieve rapid privilege escalation. It's a massive deal.
Section 4. Trending malware threats. The weapons of choice.
Now that we know their entry points, let's rapidly run through the specific, innovative malware tools being deployed right now. First up is TCL Banker. This is a fast-evolving Brazilian banking Trojan, and what makes it so uniquely dangerous is its lateral reach. It's not just a static infection. It spreads via Trojanized Logitech installers and actually utilizes a built-in worm that actively abuses WhatsApp and Outlook contact lists. Because of this worming behavior, it spreads like wildfire, posing a huge risk for both consumer devices and massive enterprise environments at the same time. Next, we have the Beagle backdoor. This is a newly observed Windows backdoor that sneaks in through search ad malvertising, pointing users to a fake Claude AI website. And this brilliantly illustrates how threat actors are leaning heavily into current AI trends, They know everyone is searching for the latest AI tools, so they're using paid ads to intercept those searches and drop a backdoor right onto the user system. It's clever, and it's highly effective.
Then there's PCP Jack, and the irony here is just striking. This is a cloud-focused worm that actually hijacked the infrastructure of an existing hacker group called Team PCP. You can't make this stuff up. It targets exposed cloud services and weakly secured credentials in cloud-native environments. Once it compromises those systems, it weaponizes them, turning the victim's infrastructure into its own distribution network to spread even further.
Finally, we're tracking ZChatBot. This is a Python-based malware hiding out in malicious PyTI packages, which are open-source libraries that developers literally use every single day. This campaign is suspected to be linked to the Ocean Lotus APT group. It's a stark reminder that advanced persistent threat actors are increasingly abusing open-source ecosystems. They're targeting developers directly to quietly establish persistence inside enterprise build pipelines for long-term espionage.
Section 5. Top Cyber News. The Big Picture. It's so important to look beyond the individual data points and understand the broader, real-world consequences here. Capturing the most striking headlines from this period shows just how high the stakes have gotten. We're looking at massive geopolitical impacts. Reports indicate that 76% of all crypto stolen in 2026 has ended up in North Korea. No way, right? We're also seeing unprecedented legal consequences. U.S. ransomware negotiators recently got between 4 and 8.5 years in prison for their roles in extortion incidents. Technically speaking, we're tracking mass hacks of Canvas login portals by shiny hunters, severe enterprise risk with Microsoft Edge storing passwords in process memory, and, of course, that Linux Dirty Frag 0-day granting root access across major distributions. It is a wildly complex, high-stakes environment right now.
So, what does this all mean for us? Well, we've seen how noisy ransomware actors are hitting small businesses, and how stealthy, state-sponsored groups are quietly infiltrating edge infrastructure. So, I want to leave you with this one critical question to ask your own teams today. Do you have the identity controls and telemetry depth necessary to detect these stealthy, data-centric threats before they strike? The data shows the attacks are absolutely coming. The only variable left is your visibility. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this intelligence. Keep learning, keep analyzing, and stay secure.